What is going on, guys? This is Jay Kraft with the Facebook group Bolorama Pickers Lounge, coming at you live again from beautiful Fresno, California for another Sunday night Bolorama Reseller Roundup. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here tonight, and I think we are going to have quite the interesting show for you guys. We got a bunch of stuff that we're going to be covering. First, we sat down and had an interview with the owner and founder of Prairie Grit himself. On top of that, we're going to be taking a deep dive into some new events that happened within the world of e-commerce, stuff like tax remitting and some unfortunate things that happened with Amazon, as well as some positive things, so a little bit of both. Más o menos, as they might say. On top of that, we're going to be taking a look at some items that I picked up this week, even though I told everyone I was done picking up items. I got invited out, so I went ahead and picked up some stuff. So, without further ado, let's go and switch over our background and take a moment. Oh, there goes the music. Take a moment to thank all the people that help make this show possible, our patrons. Those of you who aren't familiar with it yet, there's a link over here to the side, and wonderful Pam, our moderator, will go ahead and drop that link in as well. So thank you to all the patrons for making this show possible. And if you're interested in some of our other stuff, we've updated a little bit, so we got a little more information over there on the sidebar, but we'll talk about some of those things later today. So, I do want to let you guys know this is going to be a fun little show. I sat down with the owner of Prairie Grit earlier today, and we got an opportunity to kind of get some more information regarding the platform. I know that there was a lot of questions from everyone the last time I brought this topic up about a month ago, but yeah, I went ahead and took the time to get that done. So without further ado, as long as all the audio sounds good and you guys can hear me clearly and there's no video issues, which it looks like it's good on my end, we're going to go ahead and play that interview for you. And then when we come back, we're going to be covering some news and taking a look at some pickups. So I'll be back with you guys in about 20 minutes. Please enjoy this pre-recorded segment. This is Jay Kraft here again with Facebook group Bolorama Pickers Lounge, and I'm here today with a very special guest. We have Sean Herrick, the owner and founder of Prairie Grit, with us tonight. How are you doing, Sean?
Doing well, doing well. How are you doing, Jay?
I'm doing great. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us tonight. Last time we spoke, we had started telling people about your marketplace that you had created as a fantastic platform for antiques and collectibles, but you're broadening out of those categories. For those of you out there who have never heard of Prairie Grit, Sean, would you be able to tell them a little bit about your company and basically what is it?
Prairie Grit is a marketplace where people can come buy and sell antiques and collectibles. We are branching out into other categories, but at the moment we're trying to capture most of your antique sellers and buyers as well.
Okay, it's a great place to be starting from. I remember the early days of eBay when they were first getting going. They kind of had that same ideology of working within a very fine market and expanding their way outward from there. How long has Prairie Grit been around as an alternative selling platform to eBay?
So we've been around for a little while. We got to start about 5 years ago. We started building the website, and through that time, I would say about 2 years ago, we pushed it out to the masses, and we'd hear what they had to say, and we'd bring it back, and fix a bunch of the stuff, some of the requests and that kind of thing from, the market and the people using it. And what I mean by we'd take it out there, meaning advertising-wise, and once we got a lot of input, we'd bring it back, we'd stop advertising, we'd fix a bunch of stuff, and then we'd kick it out again, and market would tell us what they wanted, we'd bring it back, fix a bunch of stuff, and we finally kicked it out, I'd say about 6 months ago. Okay. So it's been a viable platform for about 6 months now.
So 6 real months of being out there in the market, real competition, bringing some heat towards eBay. I remember we were speaking the other day. I was asking you about some of your motivations to do this, because this is a very big undertaking. Right. People joke with me and humor with me, and they say, Jay, you should make your own selling platform. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, I just don't have it in me. I know how difficult doing something like that is. Everyone and their mother would have an eBay if it was that easy. So let me ask you, what made you decide to say I'm going to do it?
Okay, so my story with eBay is essentially I was selling antiques, right? I was auctioning them off. In my experience, people that buy at auctions, not all of them, but a lot of them are they're really price conscious and that kind of thing. And ultimately, I found that they're really hard to deal with, right? And I started getting a lot of returns, because of, this flaw here, that flaw there. Side note, it's kind of tough to call out every single flaw. It's kind of tough to do a lot of volume and then to do like full-fledged descriptions of a product on an antique and collectible type product.
It's that balance of quality and quantity. It's a very difficult thing to work with.
Right. So I thought for the most part people would use the imagery because the images were spot on. I always used the max images that eBay would give me, with all the flaws called out in that in that respect. But essentially, I would get a lot of returns, or I got a lot of returns in a short amount of time. And my philosophy or my experience is take care of the customer, right? So I would refund the money right away, and usually let the customer keep the item just because of the issue. I didn't want negative feedback, and I thought that was a good thing to do. And so they wouldn't have to return it. And essentially, eBay's algorithm basically started limiting my account. And little did I know at the time, you can essentially cheat eBay's system just by loading more products up and creating that volume that you need to circumvent the returns. But at the time I didn't know that, and they started limiting my account, and I called an eBay representative and made sure I talked to a manager and a manager on the floor. And I told them, or I asked them if they could have somebody look into the system, because I thought, somebody should take a look at this, because I was taking care of the customer. I wasn't trying to, dupe anybody. That wasn't my intent. And she essentially told me that they didn't do that, that they have an algorithm that took care of that, and a human has no say in what happens with your account. So I thought that was kind of odd to be such a big company and kind of throw away sellers like that, sellers that were taking care of their customers and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but believe it or not, that's an issue that I face currently. We've spoke about this before on my show. The 1% is all it really takes to screw up your account. 10 people out of 1,000 is all it takes for you to be below standard. And I feel that some of the criteria may be intentionally too strict, simply so that eBay can make more money right now. They make more money with a subpar account. You lose your top rated, you pay more in fees, and all those other things. So go ahead and carry on. So you're having the issue with the returns.
Right, so at the time, they would just shut your account down, right? So they shut my account down, and I told I've been in e-commerce, the e-commerce field for about a decade now, and at the time it had been 5 years, and I told the lady, well, I'm just going to go out and build a platform that's going to compete with your antique and collectible market. And she laughed at me, and I was frustrated at the time, so I hung up the phone, and a week later I was in a developer's office, handing him money to start working on building a marketplace. So essentially that's how the start happened.
And that's a fantastic bit of background to the brand that you have, and I understand your frustrations fully, because you were doing the right thing. You were standing by the customer. You were, even when it truly wasn't your fault, you were issuing refunds because it was simpler. And the fear of getting a negative feedback is it's frustrating. It puts too much power in the hands of the buyer. We also talked earlier before we got onto this call. When it comes to dealing with some of the customer service representatives and trying to get some of these problems sorted out, and having a computer pretty much decide your fate, decide the value of your store, and decide what's going to happen. You told me that you have a different alternative going on with Prairie Grit when you have people open up cases and stuff to that effect.
Right. Yep. So now I just wanted to mention that, some of the returns were my fault. Some I just didn't explain well enough. And some I think it was just the buyer wanted something for free. Having said that, I think eBay does a really fantastic job in a lot of areas, but I think their customer service and the way that they treat sellers, and then some buyers even have told me that, some issues that they've had with them, and they're so happy that, I built Prairie Grit. But essentially, I want to try to bring human touch back into marketplaces. I hear all the time that eBay treats their sellers horrible, and Etsy doesn't answer their phone. It's hard to get a hold of them, that kind of thing. Trying to bring the human touch back into the business, or bring it to the business. I feel like if there's an issue, and eventually Prairie Grit wants to get to the point to where we have a computer algorithm dictating a lot of things, but we also want a human looking at those things, and we want a human paying attention to those things, because it's just frustrating. And ultimately, you can't really have a marketplace without your sellers, right? I understand you can't have a marketplace without your buyers, but we want to give the control back to the sellers, right? It's their store, essentially their storefront, and they should be able to dictate their policies, right? If they don't want to offer returns, they shouldn't have to offer returns, right? That's as far as at this point, that's how we feel about it.
And there's no penalties for that, right? There's no additional fees. There's no restrictions on the account.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's what we're getting at. We're getting at the ability to do business the way that you've wanted to do business, the way that, dare I say, business was done 10 years ago on eBay, 15 years ago on eBay.
Right. I'm a big believer in not punishing the masses for the actions of a few. And, we'll get rid of the troubled sellers. But, people that are trying to, do good by the customer, that stuff will be looked into and taken into consideration.
And that's another thing that I have issue with on eBay is that right now, I got my little generated automatic letter saying, hey, you're below standard right now. You're going to incur more fees. You're no longer top rated. And I think the benchmark is even tighter than it was before. I'm at a 0.7%, and that's enough for me. 7 out of 1,000 customers is enough for me to not be eligible to get the preferred pricing, preferred placement on my listings and stuff to that effect. And I got the generated letter telling me about this. And it really frustrates me as a seller who did $20,000 plus in the last 90 days on the platform to just get a very generic, email and very generic, suggestions for improving your account. I wish there was more. And I really do enjoy the human element of Prairie Grit. Now, I myself am in the process of doing a large move, and I haven't gotten everything set up on Prairie Grit, but I was on your page, your Facebook business page, which we'll make sure to link below, and I noticed somebody had asked about a specific category. They had asked about trading cards and collectibles, and I think the turnaround time. I saw you personally responded, and how long was the turnaround time to get that category put together and up on the site?
Well, I had it built within 24 hours, but I couldn't find the comment from the guy, so it took me a couple days to respond to him. So,
but it was up and running within 24 hours, new category added, and ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. Now let me ask you this too: the biggest question I get asked by people who are looking into new services, and new selling platforms, because there are options out there. Okay, first things first, what type of pricing are people going to be expecting when they come over there as a seller? And you can even compare it to eBay if you'd like, just so people have a better beat on it.
I can't really compare Prairie Grit against eBay. I can't pin us up against them, A, because we're a really small marketplace, and B, our pricing is way different than theirs. They do offer a subscription fee. They also offer a lot of other fees, right? And as far as I'm concerned, it's really hard to follow. And a lot of marketplaces are like that, At the end of the month, you really don't know how much you spent, and it's hard to figure out how much you spent. It got to a point to where my account got limited. I started using their promotional features, and that costs quite a bit of money, and I just couldn't consider it a viable source anymore, so I stopped selling on eBay.
So your prices, what are we looking at? Like, just let's say I decide I want to get started. I'm somebody who sells, or has an active of 50 to 100 listings at any given time on eBay. What would it cost someone like me to get started on Prairie Grit?
Right. So we have 3 tiers currently. The first tier is $15 a month or $10 a month, 15 listings. The second tier is $40 a month, 100 listings. The third tier is $100 a month and unlimited listings. We are going to throw a couple more tiers in there. We have people asking us about that, so we're going to throw a couple intermediary tiers in there to
So,
get
let me just clarify now. The thing is, I understand how some of the pricing can seem just a touch aggressive on two of the smaller ones, but $100 for unlimited listings, any amount of listings.
Correct.
Wow. Now, I consider that a big value because someone like myself, I generally revolve anywhere between 500 and 1,000 listings at any given time. Even with my store subscription, I'm still looking at about a quarter a listing. So it does start banking up pretty darn quick on my end. What about, equivalent? I don't know if you have something that you would consider like a final value fee that you assess on your listings over there.
So we don't. Prairie Grit doesn't charge a final value fee. Our payment processor, we use Stripe as a payment processor, and they do have a final value fee, which is I think 2.9% plus 30 cents every transaction.
Oh, so that's not even a final value fee. That's just a transaction fee. That's the same type of fee that we're looking at with using PayPal. Or even a merchant service. So that's a merchant fee. So you're not charging any fees on your. So if I sell $1,000 item, okay, I'm just looking at whatever my subscription cost was initially to get the item online, and then a 2.9 plus 30 cents from Stripe.
That's correct.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane.
One of the things I wanted to touch on is there may be a point where we have to increase prices or something like that, or add different tiers and throw people in different buckets. Having said that, we, once again, we pride ourselves on our transparency and being open about things. And, we will grandfather anybody in who is already using the platform.
So somebody who gets set up today, because I'll be honest with you, $100 a month sounds like an absolute value, and I'm not even getting paid to say this either. I know parts of this can sound like a commercial, but I've been dealing with the frustrations of eBay for quite a while, and if somebody says that I can bring my bill down a considerable amount, it certainly gets my attention. But yeah, if you're saying that someone like me who can just lock down my account at $100 a month and then I can get grandfathered in the future, that's kind of a big deal, especially when we look at sellers who are doing thousands and thousands of items per month. That can be a massive, massive value to them down the line.
Yeah.
So, that's absolutely fantastic. What are some of the other final details regarding Prairie Grit that you think somebody from the outside looking in? We covered cost, we covered the human element. How human eyes are going to be able to look at cases, bring the power back to the actual seller themselves. And your story of how you began. What else should somebody who's maybe on the fence thinking about getting an account, or they just a question that maybe you've heard quite a bit that you feel that should have that information before they leave tonight?
The one thing that I wanted to touch on is the protection for the buyer as well. We've had a couple, quite a few actually. We've had quite a few sales, and we've had some issues with sellers not taking care of the customer, and so I don't want to lose sight of that either. It goes both ways. I'm primarily a seller, but I want the buyers and sellers to both feel empowered on this platform. It's essentially it's your platform. You do what you want with it, right? I'm just the middleman trying to keep it up to date, get stuff selling. So I want people to know that I'm just an average guy. I'm from the Midwest. There's nothing special about me. I have a platform that I want people to start using. I keep a close eye on everything that's happening in the system. And, we can't do it without the buyers and sellers, right? And so I just want people to know that you're going to be respected and, taken care of, as long as you're not trying to take advantage of other people.
Yeah. No, it seems like you've built something pretty special. What else is lined up in the future for Prairie Grit moving forward?
We have a lot of things in the pipe. I'll name a couple off. I have them listed here, so I'm going to read this quickly because there's too many to really, to remember. We're going to improve the seller tools. We're going to improve the buying process and flow. We're taking a concerted effort into search engine optimization and site structure. We're, implementing a worldwide buying and selling program, and essentially that's tied into the worldwide shipping calculator. So that'll be coming. We are going to integrate a sales tax system so that people selling in their state, it'll automatically calculate sales tax. So
will you guys be doing the tax omitting on your end, or are you going to have the sellers managing their own tax liability in the different jurisdictions?
So I'm not 100% positive on what that looks like. I just know that our system is going to be set up to charge tax, right? So I do believe that's going to be in the seller's hands.
Okay.
But it will charge the buyer tax, right? So that the seller has that money to pay for it.
Okay. Is that something that a seller can choose to turn on or off, or is that still being developed?
Still being developed. And, I think in most states, and it's just, it's new developing stuff. So
very new. Yeah, the case turnover just happened just a few months ago.
Right. So I think, in most cases, you got to sell like $100,000 even, to even be required to pay sales tax. So it depends on which state you're in and the laws surrounding that. So it's going to be ever changing.
Okay. And I appreciate hearing about those advances. And before I let you go, there's one last thing I wanted to touch base on, which we actually didn't cover during the entire interview, was eBay integration. I was told, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm an eBay seller, I can very quickly bring my listings across to Prairie Grit. How does that work out?
That's correct. I'll touch on one other thing too. For the pricing structure, the tiers, you get the first month free, so you can try us out. So
even the $100 tier, is that free if I sign up at that level?
Yep, free.
Wow.
So yes, we do have an eBay import tool that essentially helps you import your eBay listings. We also have an Etsy listing import tool that helps you import your Etsy listings. We are working on a WooCommerce product sync, which is essentially, a lot of platforms are set up on WooCommerce so that essentially they can just wire into our system, and as well as Shopify. We're gonna wire in with Shopify so that people can just import their listings right on the platform. And
then I was told too that if an item sells on your platform, it can automatically delist on the other platforms.
Right. It depends. I know on eBay we're hooked into their API, so essentially yes, with eBay you can do that, but Etsy doesn't offer an API. They just kick out and export, and you got to import it.
Oh, okay.
And our system reads that, but for eBay's sake, yes, it will. Your one and done items, it will drop them off the website.
Okay, that seems pretty fantastic. Doesn't seem like it would be a hard process for somebody to be able to make that jump across. I do want to really thank you for taking the time to come on here, because I did have a lot of people have questions after the last show. They kind of wanted to get a better bead on who they're going to be working with. When it comes to other companies like eBay, I mean, I've had a insanely difficult time trying to get anyone who could spend a half hour to come on the show. And when I reached out to you, you were, yes, let's do this. Let's have a great time together and get something going. So I definitely want to thank you for being on here today. And I certainly will have you again here in the future after I make my account and get all my listings imported over, and we see a couple of our other members here in the group do it as well. We'll have you on a second time if you'd be up for another interview when we have some more of these new changes coming through.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, it's been a great time. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Gonna nerf that music a little bit early and surprise you guys and come back. No need to see that outro card on the way out, but I definitely want to stop and thank Sean for taking the time to do that interview earlier. It was a lot of fun. We got to learn a bit more about the company, and I hope that you guys got all your questions answered about it. I understand there's a lot of concern sometimes when it comes to using a new platform, but I've done quite the fair amount of vetting just to make sure that everything's in place, and I never recommend anything to you guys that I'm not going to be using personally. So as I was telling him during the interview, I do plan on doing a move here soon, and as soon as I have that move completed, I do plan on signing up, and I will be signing up at the $100 level just because currently, right now, my eBay bill is insane. I pay between $500 to $600 a month, and I actually forgot to touch base on this point with him while we were talking because there was just so much to go over, and I wanted to get kind of put together quickly. But when was the last time that you guys looked at your eBay bill? Now, when I first started out, I was maybe getting charged $50, $100, $150 a month, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't really care, but now I'm paying $500, $600, $700 a month, depending on the volume that I'm doing and depending on the discounts that they want to give me, and I don't check my bill anymore. I don't look to see if I've gotten credits back for final value fees. I don't really pay attention to refunds of any variety. I just kind of pay the bill and I kind of move forward. And I really like the idea of knowing that I'm going to be paying 3%, which is, let's be honest, substantially cheaper, and then paying $100 a month up front. Because currently, I think I'm paying $60 or $65 a month right now for my the not the basic, but the one up, like the intermediate level seller subscription over at eBay, and I'm paying anywhere between 10 to 15% on the back end with the cost of fees as well as the integration of PayPal. So my cost over there, it's just nuts. So I'm looking forward to moving some of my listings across. And you know what? Maybe I might even do it sooner because I do have to get this liquidation going. So if you guys are interested in it, do me a solid and check out the link down below. Now, this isn't an affiliate link or anything like that. I'm not getting paid. This link is a bit.ly link, and it just allows me to track how many people are actually coming across. I wanted to gather some data simply for myself just to see how many people are clicking on that link, how many people are going and checking it out. That way I can better tailor some of the content for you in the future towards more things that you might enjoy watching and enjoy learning about. But I can see this really making some ripples. We talked about last week during the shareholder call. If you guys happen to catch that, I believe it was on Wednesday. We covered quite a bit of information during that Q3 conference call. And one of the big things was how eBay is on a slight bit of a downturn right now. Now, they obviously showed a 5% FMV volume growth over the last quarter and a 4% bump in the percentage of buyers that they had. But the reality was it wasn't as strong as it was supposed to be, and shareholder confidence is really starting to slip as you see share values dropping from an average of $35, $36 a share over the last year and falling all the way down to $29, which is almost as low as it's been in the last 2 years. So eBay is getting a little bit soft. Amazon's always holding strong. That's just kind of what they do. And it really does leave an opening for a company like Prairie Grit, who does care about the customer, who does have that personability that we kind of grew up with when we first started on eBay. It's nice to see that happen again. And how big will they get? Sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. But I know you guys have been asking for an alternative selling platform for quite a little while, so there's an option for you. And like I said, I'm not getting paid anything, but if you do sign up, do me a favor, send me a message. Let me know that this was the reason you signed up, and maybe we'll get you a little promo gift. If you guys didn't know, we have our little Patreon gift right now. It's these lovely little eBay thank you cards. Now, that Y is actually green, but I'm in front of a green screen right now. But we have these lovely thank you cards that you can get that you can send out to your customers, and you can even hand them out to people that you know it has your personalized eBay store name and all that good stuff. But we can make you ones for Prairie Grit if you want, and we can kick you out some of those. I don't mind doing that for you guys, but just let me know if you do sign up and we'll get you going. Let me check some of the comments here. Sean Gilbert, let me get that comment unhid right there. He says, I check my eBay invoice monthly and I work out my profits myself as I don't have an accountant and I'm only small. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that I was doing early on. Like I said, when my bill was $50, $100, $150 a month, very, very early on stuff, I was doing a lot of my own bookkeeping. And to really manage everything down to a penny. We are going to be doing a very special series here. You can expect it in January, where I'm going to be starting probably with a $10 bill, and I'm going to show you guys the process of going from $10 to $10,000. And I'm going to show you how long it's going to take me, and I'm going to show you every step along the way. We're going to be starting with a brand new eBay store with zero feedback. I'm going to show you guys how to get it from zero feedback to 100 feedback and how to go from $10 to $10,000. And I'm going to show you every single buy, every single sale. We're going to break down the cost of shipping and everything like that the whole way through and through. So it should be a ton of fun. Also, real quick too, if you guys are watching this on YouTube right now, make sure you click that subscribe button. We're on our on way to get to 300 subscribers, and our ultimate goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. That would really, really help us grow, because then we'd be able to monetize this channel, rake in some of that sweet ad revenue, even though it's not much, but it would help keep the lights on. Unfortunately, we did take some heavy losses on our Patreon over the last month. We lost about $50 a month worth of support. So if you guys aren't familiar with it yet, we have this lovely link over here, patreon.com/Bolorama, where you can help support the show. You can get some wonderful physical perks. And then we also have a group chat that runs 24 hours a day where you can talk about everything. You can talk about eBay, you can talk about family, you can talk about your health, you can talk about whatever you want, but you get to be inside of a wonderful group of people that are all professional resellers just like myself, and you get direct access to me. So make sure you check out that link. It's a great one, and we got different tiers. It starts as cheap as like 50 cents a day if you want to help support the show. Sean Gilbert comments in again, says 1 year on, and I've already sold 9,000 pounds in eBay sales in 60 days. Wow. 1 year ago, it wasn't nowhere near that. It's amazing the amount of growth you can have with just a little bit of education, a little bit of extra training, and then honest to God, the biggest thing is that hard work ethic. That got me farther than anything else imaginable. So we got a whole bunch of other news beyond Prairie Grit. And one more time, thank you, Sean, for taking the time to be on. We look forward to working with you again in the future. And I believe they may even be coming on as a show sponsor down the line. So that'd be wonderful. We could definitely use a little bit of help here to keep everything going. In unfortunate news coming from Maryland, there is a plant over there, the Amazon distribution plant BW15 in Baltimore, Maryland. They suffered some extreme weather occurrences out there, heavy wind, tornadoes, you name it, and it was a very unfortunate thing. A large portion of the front half of their building actually collapsed through. Our thoughts go out to the two people that unfortunately passed in this disaster, but beyond that, one of the bigger questions that people have been asking is regarding inventory and the situation with that. Amazon hasn't released an official statement yet, but with situations like this, if you're somebody who's holding inventory in the Baltimore plant, then you can expect them to reach out to you here shortly. Most likely you'll be getting refunded back on that inventory, and then you'll have protection against any negative feedbacks that are caused due to delay in shipment to your customers. So again, my thoughts go out to the two people that unfortunately passed in what can only be described as a very, very freak accident. On top of that, we have some other news today. eBay did announce that they're going to be starting tax remittance. Kinda. Not 100% on board with it just yet. E-commerce Bytes writes, eBay told sellers on Monday it will begin collecting sales tax next year on transactions where the buyer is based in Minnesota. eBay had previously informed sellers of its obligation to collect sales taxes for other states that enacted what was known as marketplace facilitator laws, stating, quote unquote, "We believe this ruling is unfair to small businesses and will continue to find the best way to support and advocate for our sellers." This is the first time I've seen eBay very strongly go to bat in defense of sellers. It said, based on new laws, eBay will calculate, collect, and remit sales taxes for applicable orders shipped to customers in the following states. We're looking at Washington, Minnesota, Oklahoma. Let me get this copied over here real quick so I can give it to you guys. Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, and then the dates vary. We're looking at dates from January 1 to July 1st. And like I said, it's a little bit of a mix. I went ahead and dropped that in the comments so you guys can see it. Now, I do want to touch base on one thing, too, regarding taxes. There was a statement said during that interview regarding the minimum benchmarks for some of these states to have to pay taxes. And we do our best to not give out too much tax advice just because of the liability that can be behind it if we give out bad advice. But in regards to Minnesota, I believe the statement was said that you have to do $100,000 a year worth of volume in that state. And we're not just talking about having nexus in that state. If you're not familiar with the word nexus, it means having an office or having a large amount of inventory or having like heavy branding or an affiliate location in that area would be considered your nexus. You're doing nexus in that territory. So with Minnesota, it's not nexus based, which is really, really crazy. You're simply selling to people in that area. And the number was thrown out there, $100,000 a year in sales. I know what you're thinking. You're like, I'm not going to sell anywhere near $100,000 worth of inventory to Minnesota. That's just simply not going to happen. Well, there's two benchmarks. It's $100,000 or 200 transactions in one calendar year. Now, $100,000 isn't going to happen, but 200 can easily happen. And unfortunately, there's even more to it as well. eBay explained, once we start collecting tax in these states, you do not need to take any action. There are no extra charges or fees for this service. Prior to these dates, please, now hear this out. Prior to these dates, please continue to collect and remit taxes in these states and comply with any other applicable requirements they impose. Furthermore, there are no opt-outs for selling items to the states listed above or out of eBay automatically collecting sales tax for applicable orders. So you can't say, I don't want to ship to Minnesota. You can't do that. You can't opt out. You can say it, I'm sure. You can put it in your listings and you can upset every single Vikings fan out there. But the reality is you're going to have to continue to play business this way. On top of that, additional states will likely be added to the above list. And it says stay informed on the help pages for eBay. And let's be very, very honest. Those help pages are garbage. They don't really help anyone at all. So when it comes to actually remitting taxes currently, I strongly recommend that you take the time to learn the tax code in the areas where you are sending inventory. And let's be honest, holy cow, is there a lot of jurisdictions, or little areas that you have to learn for tax law. If you do have it within your financial means and you are a seller of those means, hire a CPA to help you out. I do know a local CPA. He's a young guy, hard worker. If you need one, let me know. We'll get you paired up with him. His rates are probably hyper competitive, and he wouldn't mind doing some independent work. If you're not sure if you need a CPA, consider talking to the people over at taxjar.com. They're offering free consultations right now as we look over this Wayfair versus South Dakota ruling being overturned just a few months ago. On top of that, guys, I know we're having a fantastic time talking about tax law. We're going to take a peek at some of the items that I picked up this week. I know I said I wasn't going to do any thrifting. I know I said I wasn't going to go to any swap meets. But I was invited. It's not my fault this time. And, it's good to get out and kind of stretch your legs at the end of the week. I found myself not doing a whole lot of fun things for myself this week. I mean, there was one or two really, really great days that I had, but I did a little too much work, a little too much. So the swap meet helped me offset it just a little bit. Those of you who are new here, obviously subscribe to the channel. But what we used to do every single week is I would go out and I would source for items and I would showcase every single item I got. I'd give you a little bit of a story behind it. I'll give you a little bit of education about the item. I'll tell you what I bought it for. I'll tell you what I'm going to sell it for. So if you see an item that's of interest to you, if you're a patron of the show, let me know. You can have that item for cost because I do not care about the profits on it. I'd rather you guys have it enjoyed as long as you plan on keeping it. If you see something you want to buy for yourself, feel free to drop a comment below, and then someone will reach out to you or provide you with a link to be able to get in touch with me. So I got a whole bin of stuff. So, what are the criteria this week? Well, the idea was I'm only going to get large items if it's something that I can send into Amazon because I'm moving soon, so I want to be able to get it out the house. And two, if I'm buying it for eBay, it must be small or it must be exceptionally good margins. Like, it really must be worth the trouble because not only am I having to stop what I'm doing to list an item up right now, or I have to stop what I'm doing and box this item up and pay for someone to move it. And yes, I'm hiring a moving company. I have far too much stuff to do it on my own. So first thing up, it's probably not going to display well because it's so green. This is I can't read the name, Roland Martin rocket fishing rod. You may have seen one of these on TV before, but it literally has a foam rocket up here that you can put into the top. You run your fishing line through it and you can shoot. I think it's for kids, but I'm an adult. I would totally play with this and you can shoot the line clean out of the end of it. This thing's awesome. I picked this up at the swap meet this morning. I paid $5 for it. This bad boy sells on Amazon consistently with a really good rank, about 160,000 on the rank for, I think it's under toys. I don't think it's under like outdoor goods or anything. $85 sale price for this. So with the take home, probably about $65 after everything's said and done. And on top of that, I'm really starting to look more into oversized goods for Amazon because the fees are actually cheaper because it's easier for them to maintenance these items. We got a bunch of questions in from Sean Gilbert. Sean, you better be subscribed with all these questions you got. I'll be a little bit hurt if you aren't. Sean says, while I'm still full-time employed in UK, I reinvest my business profits back into my business. I even top up my business with my employed wages. Okay, he's basically talking about the previous thing we were talking about his growth personally. He says, taxes in the USA sound more strict than in the UK. I'll be honest with you, your guys' taxes are a little bit nuts out there. The tax law is confusing, but our tax rates are substantially less. Anywhere from a third to about half as much as what you're paying out there. And he says, doesn't Amazon FBA charge you extra for large items in the US? They do out here. Actually, they charge you less. Believe it or not. When we're looking at things like long-term storage fees, their statement was that it's just easier to maintenance those items because the small ones require drawers, they require inspection. They actually prefer the bigger items. So let's take a look. This is an oddball one. I can't believe I found this. And I am going to just right off the bat, I'm going to tell you this is parts not working, okay? This is a Sony PlayStation 4 VR headset. No BS. Like, this is the full-on headset equipment setup. I cannot believe I found this. And it's for the Sony Vive. This, for parts, is worth $65. And it's unfortunate that somebody cut the cord. I don't know why somebody would do this, okay? But this is a $65 piece. It's a little on the heavy side, okay, which means I'm going to be using that top link right there to ship it. It's going to save me quite a bit of money. It's probably going to ship out for about $10 opposed to $15 if I was to do it through eBay. I paid $1 for this. The guy had a whole mat of stuff out there. He's like, dollar, 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 dollar. And I picked this up. I'm like, $1. He's like, dollar, dollar, dollar. I'm like, whoosh, there you go. Enjoy your dollar, my friend. So very happy to get that one. Those of you who don't know, that's like a virtual reality headset. It's all the kids say it's like all the rage right now. I don't know. Yeah. What else do we got? Like I said, I didn't get a whole lot of stuff today, but I am pleased with the stuff I got. It's not often I showcase a book here on the show because I don't really find too many books that are worth talking about. We have Sand Kings by George R.R. Martin. And you know what drew me to this? It was this absolutely gorgeous sci-fi artwork on the cover. I love the look of some of these classic 70s and 80s sci-fi books. You know, the original jacket's there. It's got some unfortunate condition issues here on the front. You know, it would have been great if it was signed, but it's not. I mean, that was the first thing that I look for because you just never know. You never know when you might stumble into a signed George R.R. Martin, which would be amazing. I picked this up. She charged me $2. I was very pleased. The lowest one right now on eBay is about $50, which means I'm going to be, believe it or not, I'm going to be asking around $40. And the reason that is the completed comps are anywhere between about 15 to 25 based on condition, and I really don't want this to sit around for an eternity. I would like to get this sold and get this out the door. I'm also going to be checking Amazon comps to see where it actually sits out on there too, and if it's more aggressive, I'll go in and kick it out. Those of you guys who don't know, this is a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. What do we got next? Oh, this is one that Miguel Godinez taught me about. He's one of our patrons. He's an expert in glassware. And I'm not talking like glassware as in cups and mugs. I'm talking about eyeglassware. This is something that I would have never even touched before I met him. And he produced some really awesome videos on the topic. I want to work with him to be able to get something a little more, polished as far as like intros, outros, but the content is fantastic. And every time now I see a pair of glasses that looks like it has some age, looks like it has some character to it, I go ahead and pick them up. These right here are gray and clear. What are they called? Modern Tycoon glasses. And my searches online give me the impression that I can get anywhere between $40 and $75 for these frames. I've got to do a little bit more research on it, but I did see a completed one at $40 at auction. So this is something that I'm going to be getting cleaned up, get it listed up. I might even short sell it to Miguel because he knows a lot more about this category than I do. Holy cow. We got a little bit of dust here in this bag or something. Oh, I know what it is. It's this next item right here. Let me get the last of this out of here so I don't have to keep holding this bag here in front of my hand. Oh, man, that was a good sneeze. Whew. You guys enjoying the show? Everyone having a good time, smacking that like button, helping me out. Those of you who don't know, clicking that like button does help because it increases the rate at which people are served this video in search. So, those of you who might remember 4.5 months ago, I went dumpster diving, believe it or not, across the street in an estate sale because someone threw away a whole bunch of spice containers. When I say spice containers, I'm referring to the old metal tin can spice containers. And I went digging like crazy because he didn't know which ones he had. And I was really hoping that I could find one that was valuable. And the only one that I know off the top of my head that's actually worth anything is pumpkin pie spice. This is my first time ever finding one of these, and I've seen these in groups, and people call them bolos, and easy money, easy to find, yada yada yada. Now, this isn't the McCormick variety. The McCormick one is a very, very frequent sell-through. The French's one does not sell through as often. Now, I do have a one-up on this because this is the American version, which is the harder of the ones to find. How much am I going to get? I don't know. If I get $20, I'll be thrilled. If it was McCormick, you're probably looking at closer to $40 to $60. But it's also a semi-seasonal item as well. The fact that we're coming into the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, this is something that somebody might want as a decor piece. I may be able to get a little bit more out of it coming through. But yeah, I'm really excited I found one. Have you ever found a French's or a McCormick pumpkin pie spice? Did you know that these were worth money? If this is new to you, let me know, because I've been trying to find one of these for about 6 years now. Pam says, I picked up some from a storage pickup, but I haven't looked them up yet. I'll tell you, pumpkin spice, as far as I know, is the only one worth a darn thing. And I've tried looking up a bunch of other ones. I know some of the bigger ones, the Clabber Girl, like cornstarch, baking powder, something to that effect, is worth some bucks too. We have up next a DigiPass Go 6. If you don't know what this is for authenticating and locking down your account online. This is a World of Warcraft themed one. I paid $1 for this. Some of the certain styles are worth more. There's not going to be a whole lot to teach you on this one. It's kind of a roll of the dice on the style, but you can look it up if you want. But that's what, so you know what this is. If you see it, it's a DigiPass. Yeah, I can't teach you more on that. Sean says, yeah, enjoying the show. 1:45 a.m. here in the UK. And I noticed here in the UK, we're an hour later than normal. I don't know if you guys don't do daylight savings time, but Corey Barlow is a friend of the show. He mentioned that everything was an hour later for him still. So sorry about that delay that I couldn't do anything about. He says, laying bed on my phone, watching you live. Can't believe USA Amazon fees are cheaper for larger items and the UK larger items. And more, it weighs more fees. Yeah, you know, I mean, maybe if you have super oversized, but for me, we're looking at, I believe, $1.20 or something per month for oversized on excess units. I'm not sure the specifics. I just know it's cheaper based on their last statement. What else do we got? So that's all the stuff that I got from one trip out. So pretty good return on investment. That was today. I think we spent, I don't know, maybe like $10, and we have close to $300 worth of product there. So not bad at all. Up next, we've got a Rinkadink Craftsman. This is like a control deck for your garage door opener. Anytime I see any garage electronic related items, whether it's the hand clicker or the ones that go on the wall, they're certainly worth looking up. This packaging is rough, really rough. But it's worth about $19 in this condition. I was able to pick it up for $2. I can't complain. But yeah, when you find them, preferably new. If you find them used, you're probably looking at closer to about $12 to $13. But it always helps with the sell-through when they are in new condition. Let's see what else we got. We got this one. I got to make sure I don't show the key on this, which, oh my God, I thought it had the key on it. I've got to sort this out. This is a copy of Microsoft Works 9. If the key was still on there, which the other one I was looking at was Microsoft Office or something to that effect and had the key on it. With the key, this version's worth about $40 or $50. Without the key, I'm going to have to go source one, test it, yada, yada, yada. But it does have the software in there. Maybe the key's tucked underneath of something. But I paid $1, maybe $2 for this. Get good return on investment as long as I can actually get it sold. Oh, this is a cool item. I don't know who's going to want to buy this off me, but I hope one of you does. This is a piece. Let me read this out real quick. Original, I'll show it to you while I'm reading it. Original hand-cut intaglios by Deckel, the Link Art Studios. This is a piece of acrylic or lucite that's been hand-carved to be able to create this relief. Now, you're seeing it from this angle. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, if I turn it over, you can see all the work that was done to carve this out. And if it's not picking up well, it's because of, its resolution issues. If you guys don't know this, make sure you click on the gear on this video. It should be right over here somewhere below the video. Click on the gear and make sure you have it set for 720p. If you're watching it on an iPad, it's going to be up there. It's going to be the 3 dots. So if you're not watching this in high definition, you're really missing out. But go ahead and set 720 on that. But yeah, this is a hand-carved piece. This is absolutely beautiful. I love finding stuff like this too, because this was in a pile of tools and papers and just other scrap garbage. Even the glasses that I found was in a box of papers. It was just stuffed underneath the stuff. It was the first thing I saw when I walked in there, and $1 spent to be able to turn it out. Sean Gilbert asks, how many hours a day do you spend sourcing? When I am working a traditional thrifting schedule, I will source about 20 hours to 30 hours a week. When I'm running a streamlined sourcing schedule, I will work maybe 10 hours a week. 2 swap meets a week is generally enough to keep everything going. 2 swap meets should be able to generate me about $800 to $1,000 worth of profit per week. And I know that number seems a little bit incredulous, but as you can see, the variety of items that I'm dealing with here, from what I've seen, people who aren't able to find $1,000 worth of profit across 10, maybe 20 hours of being out there sourcing are generally very narrow in what they're looking for. They say, like, this is the category I work in. Like, I know glassware, I'm not going to touch blank. I won't touch shoes. I won't touch clothing. I won't touch glass. I won't touch this. When people start excluding too many categories, they have a real hard time going out there sourcing. And I always tell people, if you see something and you don't know what it is, look it up. If you don't know what it's worth, don't put it down until you know what it is worth, because you spent all the time to get there, right? You got up in the morning, you got clean, you put clothes on, you got in the car, you drove there, whether it be the swap meet, the thrift store, or wherever. You drove there. Now you're there. This is your prime time to be doing buying. Why are you walking by items you're not familiar with? Why aren't you looking up things you don't know? Why aren't you not willing to work in a category you're unfamiliar with? This being out there in the field is your prime opportunity to get that education in, that education that we all need to become better, that'll pay dividends down the line. The more you know, there's a little rainbow shooting over your head. The more you know, it's important to pick up these things. So, back on topic with this cool thing, I paid I paid $1, which is a little bit crazy. So how much is this worth? It's a tricky one, and I hate to say that, but at $1, I wasn't going to leave it behind because somebody would love this for $2. I looked at completed. One variation of this sold for about $30 to $40. There are other active ones currently. They aren't as cool looking as mine. They really lack some of the depth and the number of opening holes on it. I think that this one's much more intricate. A gentle wipe down and a polish of the acrylic. I think I could get an easy $50 for this. And honestly, if somebody wanted to pay me less, I'll let it go. I'm $1 into it. It doesn't mean anything. If I let it go for $25 after fees and shipping and everything, I'm going to walk away, I don't know, with a solid $17.50. If I sell it on Prairie Grit, I'll walk away with a clean $20. Yeah, that's fine with me. Let's take a look. We got another item. This is really cute. Who is the one? Oh yeah, it's Pam. Likes Powerpuff Girls. She was interested in another item that I had. Let me get this fixed up. This is actually a really, really nice Powerpuff Girl doll. It's a hard plastic top with a plush bottom. So the legs and the a portion of the torso are, gotta fix her dress. That is not appropriate. So her dress and chest area are foamy or plushy, and then the rest is plastic. So very nice piece. I paid $1 for this too. I've got to do a little bit of research on it, but I can almost certainly say it's going to be worth at least $15. It could be as high as $35. Powerpuff is making a real big comeback right now, and some of the harder to find items, whether it be jewelry boxes, posters, plushies, model kits, and stuff to that effect, are really starting to boom again. And, I think they had the relaunch of the show. You had the Lego Dimensions that are featuring these items too. So these are moving back up. And then Cartoon Network as a whole, just the brand has always been notorious for having valuable collectibles on the back end. So this is a great little piece too. What else do we got? Leah says she recently sold one as well. Hey, congrats on that, Leah. Let me see that completed sale. Maybe I can pick up a few pointers from you. I got 2 more items left, and they're not exciting items. So before I show these ones, I'm going to talk one last time about these lovely links over here, because I didn't do a mid-roll. I didn't do that. So if you guys are paying too much on your shipping, which I know most of you are, okay, because you're buying your labels through eBay, stop buying your labels on eBay. Just follow the link, bit.ly/cheapship. It's so much cheaper. You get pricing plus, like that preferred pricing that for eBay top rated sellers. You get that for free. Nothing to sign up. You pay no monthly. You only pay for your labels. Go get signed up. Right here, if you want to join our Facebook group, learn more about what we're doing in our off time, that's the great link for it there. And here's our Patreon if you want to support the show. People ask me all the time, Jay, how do I support your show? How do I keep you going? I can't do a super chat because you don't have 1,000 subscribers yet. these two links right here, Patreon and PayPal. These are the two ways to help us out. This one just says, I want some cool stuff as well. And then this one is, I just think you're so cool, I just want to give you some money. And I won't stop you. Every dollar that you send in, it goes right back into the show. We spend it on assets. We spend it on equipment. If you guys haven't noticed, this area of my face isn't very lit up. We need new lighting. That's where we're at right now. We overspent last month, and we could definitely use your support. We're like PBS. So, yeah, every little bit helps. I only spend money that comes in through this program back into this show. I try not to spend my own personal money, because the reason I'm here is to help everyone else become better sellers so that you have money. So the idea is I teach you how to make money, and then you say thank you, and you help me make money. And then we just grow the program and get it bigger and bigger, and we give you free stuff too. So next two items and last two items, we got a Whirlpool Every Drop water filter. Now, I didn't get a chance to fully inspect this item. I noticed that the packaging was a little bit rough. It looks like there's some debris here, and I'm hoping that this thing is actually brand new in here. I don't know. I can't really tell. I'm going to fiddle with it later. Most water filters are worth anywhere between $20 and $30 when they're ones that are of this quality. Yeah. It could be a lot more. I paid $1 for it, and that's really all I needed to know at the time. But yeah, as long as it's new, I'm going to be in great shape. It appears new. It just looks like some of the carbon got shook out from the top and worked its way through. I do also want to give a cautionary word as well. There is a Vero issue with certain water filters by Maytag right now. Some of our patrons have experienced issues selling these on eBay. So make sure that the one you are listing is not on the Vero list. If you're unsure, feel free to reach out to me and we'll help you verify your listing before you put it live and jeopardize your account. You don't want to have stuff getting pulled down. So here's another brand new item that I have never listed one of before, and I am an eBay seller of 12 going on 13 years currently. What does my card say? eBay seller since 2003. So I guess I've been I'm on 15 years. Holy cow. Wow. I had no clue. So 15 years on eBay. We got this beautiful Moen faucet. This is, now, normally when I see stuff like this, I don't really care, but I noticed, I'm like, man, this packaging is old. I'm just going to take a peek inside. And I pop it open. We got the instructions on top. And what do we have below? We have a brand new faucet. And you know what really helped out a lot was this paperwork. Okay. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen sellers look at stuff like this and say, I just don't know how to go about looking it up. And they just don't pull out the paperwork that's underneath of the faucet. They're like, oh, it's just instructions. No, there's my model number. There's my variety. This is a Moen single handle. God, it's a tongue twister. Single handle Butler faucet. Bet you can't say that 3 times fast. But no, really, I looked this up. We got some bucks here. This is about an $80 to $100 faucet. They haven't made these ones in forever. And it is very, very heavy duty. Very, very nice quality. I think it's a single tap. So you would need one for, I think you would need a second one. I am not even sure. Yeah, this thing only does cold. So I guess it would be for the UK who, you know, where they use 2 taps. If you guys didn't know that, that's still a common thing in Europe to have 2 separate taps. It's weird, but yeah. So got that. I paid unfortunately more than I wanted to. I was able to negotiate it as part of a bundle deal. I'm into it for $8. I mean, is it the end of the world? No, because I'm going to make a fortune on it. And on top of that, this is something that is going to be shipped cubic because it's going to be based on the dimensions of the item and not the weight. So I should turn a pretty good profit on it, probably about $60, $70 after everything is said and done. Those are my pickups for the weeks, guys. I got some cool stuff. Yeah, there's nothing else left. I had some chips in here earlier that I picked up at the swap meet, but somebody took some of those from me earlier. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at my items. We got a couple more stories that are here for you that we'll cover real quick before we go ahead and wrap things up tonight. If you have any questions, as I stated earlier, feel free to drop them down in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps us out tremendously. Let's take a look at our tiny bits as well, which are just little tiny stories that didn't justify having an entire segment about them. Amazon tops 30% growth in Q3. Surprise, surprise. Amazon is making more money. Wonderful. And this is just a given. Amazon's going to keep growing. You know, I think it's very interesting to see the slowdown in eBay's growth correlating almost directly with the growth of Amazon. The numbers are there, and we showed some graphs last week. I don't even know if I have my graphs available, but we showed some graphs last week that kind of pointed out the disparity between brands. But we'll cover a little bit more of that here in the future if there's a need for it. If you didn't see last week's episode, I strongly recommend you check it out. There was a lot of interesting numbers that we covered. What else do we got? eBay's conference call breakdown for next week. Yeah, so this week was slated to have a intricate breakdown on the conference call, but we ran into some logistical issues when it came to fetching all of the information from that conference call. We're going to be able to work through those, though, and I definitely suggest if you're curious about some of the things that are happening behind the scenes at eBay, that you stick around for next week's episode as well. It's going to be very, very telling. Last one, some very unfortunate news. eBay purchases TerraPeak. So those of you who aren't familiar, TerraPeak is a website that allowed you to go back in time and see what certain items sold for. Not only your own items, where you were able to manage your own seller history and be able to see an item that you sold, it could be years ago, but you were able to go back and see everyone's sales. You were able to look up a specific item, go back a couple years, and see how much it actually sold for. It was a fantastic service, and it was something that you could pay money to be able to see. Well, eBay went ahead and bought it. And they're going to ruin it. They truly are. They're talking about integrating some of these services directly into the seller hub, which theoretically could be beneficial for sellers, but they're talking about getting rid of the legacy search. So your ability to search for an item that sold 3 years ago, they're looking to get rid of that, and they only want you to be able to track the items that you've sold yourself. What's the point of it? And what is the point of eBay acquiring a company that's currently profitable and destroying it? There's no reason to be doing that. This is just eBay squandering money again, and to appease who? I have no clue. But that's just kind of how it is. So, guys, I want to thank all of you for being here. It's been one solid hour for this Sunday Reseller Roundup. I don't know if I have any outro stories for you guys. I usually stop and say, talk about an event or something that happened to me this week, but I really don't have too much of that. I guess all I can say is to stay focused, stay busy. We have some more shows coming out this week. We're going to do 5 more interesting things that sold on eBay. We're also going to be doing small questions, big answers. If you haven't watched that show yet, definitely make sure you check out the playlist for that. There's a lot of great questions that we've been answering so far. Yeah. And then I'm going to be back next week with some fantastic little pickups, showcasing some items. It'll be a big, good time. Thank you again to all the patrons for making this show possible. If you need more details, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you. Up next is the lovely credits. And if you'd like your name in those credits, let us know. Yeah, we'll add you in. Not a problem. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Have yourself a very wonderful evening.